Hey guys, before you watch this super awesome video presentation from yours truly, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Brian Solange, on Gab at Brian Solange, and on Instagram at Brian Solange. I've decided to step up my game. I will begin posting updates including heads up, sneak peeks, and reminders on all upcoming videos, live streams, and projects, in addition to starting general conversations about whatever in order to better connect and interact with you guys, my equally awesome supporters. Because of course, without you, none of this would even be possible. Also, don't forget to subscribe to me over on BitChute and my newest venture, Brighteon, as well as friend me on Facebook. And be sure to check out my personal website at formmotion.com. Sign up and feel free to participate in or even start your own conversation thread about almost anything. Unless you're a feminist, we promise not to judge. If you want exclusive access to my archived and classic content, along with sneak peeks of newer content including written blogs, short films, docu-commentaries, original poems, and more, be sure to sign up and become a valued patron of my work over at patreon.com. Of course, if you want to show your individual support, you can always feel free to make a donation to my PayPal. Any little bit helps, and your donations are always appreciated. And last, but certainly not least, be sure to sign up and subscribe to me on FS Avenger. Even if you don't like my content, sign up to FS Avenger. It's the first of its kind video sharing platform made, owned, and run by free-thinking black men exclusively for free-thinking black men. Nothing of this magnitude has ever been done quite like we do it over at FS. It is bold, daring, innovative, and most importantly, it's black. Thank you so much for your support and enjoy the video. Deuces.
Came here thinking that this video was gonna be clickbait, but it's not. We do not do that kind of thing around here. Now, I found a tweet on Reddit that I initially thought was a troll, and then very quickly realized it wasn't. The term obese is a slur. Violent, dehumanizing, and anti-black. Anti-black, you say? Of course it is. I mean, when you've been around the internet for long enough, you kind of come to expect these things. Especially from profiles that are named Black Fat Queer. I mean, yeah, it's the internet. Lower your expectations. In my normal Sydney fashion, I read this and thought to myself, I bet that's an isolated opinion. Then I wrote a mean tweet in response because, let's be honest, I'm at my best when I'm being a wise guy. And then I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. It never actually is. So I went searching. So my travels of the internet led me to a Teen Vogue article from August that basically qualified the idea that obesity is anti-black. The writer, who I guess is this girl, writes the following. Fat stigma is also tied to anti-blackness, in that being black is the abundance that white supremacy seeks to shrink. I'm gonna have to go with nope on that one. Linda, I want you to get on a treadmill, not commit genocide. It's the negative stereotypes created by white supremacy that reinforce the idea that we are naturally fat. And with that, many of the negative associations tied to the word today. The more we call ourselves fat, and the more we realize that it's not bad to be fat, the more we're tearing down walls built by racism. I mean, I'm no doctor or anything, but I'm thinking the reason being fat has so many negative associations is because, oh, I don't know, it leads to death. So just to streamline this total drivel, basically this article is trying to say that obesity is tied to anti-blackness, white supremacy, and that by destigmatizing it, we'll tear down the walls of racism. Got it. But weirdly enough, this idea isn't new. Take this article from 2017, for example. Your fat stigma is racist. Here are 6 ways to shift that. Is thin stigma racist? Are like skinny people considered to be mostly white or something? Did I miss a memo? Yeah, you did actually here. According to this writer as well, obesity is still a reflection of white supremacy. Remember that thinness can't be separated from whiteness. And the BMI chart was created by a Belgian who based his study on white European men, so as a result, the BMI is quite frankly racist and sexist. Recognize how we judge ourselves against white standards. We uphold whiteness in a lot of subtle ways. One of the most obvious is through internalized fat hatred and conceptions of what our bodies should look like. And these are just a couple snippets of the rest of the article, which I will link in the description box and you can read in your own time. Because it's liberal drivel and it hurts my head. Now what's funny is when you search the term obesity is anti-black, you don't get a lot of immediate results, unless you know the left-wing hideouts to look in. However, when you search the term racism causes obesity, well, you just opened a can of worms there, son. For example, look at this video from a few days ago.
Like, I hate when people talk about black women being obese. I hate it. Because it becomes a way to blame us for a set of conditions that we didn't create. We are living in the Trump era. And look, those policies kill our people. You can't get access to good health care, good insurance. The research says that black women, when we do the same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower, even when we're following the diet, than our white women counterparts. And what public health practitioners think is that our stress responses in the body change our metabolism. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
In case it wasn't clear to you, obesity is caused by racism. Or take note of this utterly insane TED Talk from 2017.
Why are black women dying faster and at higher rates than any other group of people in America from preventable obesity-related diseases? The question hurts me. I'm shaking a little bit. It feels like value-laden. It hurts my body because the weight represents so much.
So the question that you're all asking yourselves right now is why? Why are black women dying? We asked ourselves that same question. Why is what's out there not working for them? Private weight loss companies, government interventions, public health campaigns. I'm going to tell you why. Because they focus on weight loss or looking good in skinny jeans without acknowledging the trauma that black women hold in our bellies and bones that has been embedded in our very DNA. The best advice from hospitals and doctors, the best medications from pharmaceutical companies to treat the congested heart failure of my grandmother didn't work because they didn't acknowledge the systemic racism that she had dealt with since birth. A divestment in schools, discriminatory housing practices, predatory lending, a crack cocaine epidemic, mass incarceration putting more black bodies behind bars than were owned at the height of slavery.
Side note for a second, it might just be me, but have you guys also noticed how all these TED Talk people sound like robots? I don't like it. I think the thing that really kills me about this clip in particular is that because of Jim Crow and slavery and oppression and systemic racism, black women hold trauma in their bodies, and that's why they're fat. Hello, ma'am. I seem to have stepped off of my transportation in the wrong era. Could you help me get back to one that makes more sense? I mean, the speaker here is basically saying that her grandma would have survived if the medical system had somehow addressed her trauma of being a black person. But real talk, how do they do that? How do doctors or hospitals or nurses or the medical system address that? I mean, the truth is, it really just gets to a point where these activists aren't even saying anything. They're really just mashing together a series of buzzwords that sound good so that the audience will clap and nod and think that it's something meaningful. 'Cause guys, if I'm gonna have to drink the Kool-Aid, I at least want to know what flavor it is. And I opened this video expecting cherry, but now it's tasting a lot like Jonestown. That's a Jim Jones reference if you didn't get it. It's a bit dark, actually. But jokes aside, the more I looked into this, the more that it seems to be an actual accepted mainstream explanation for why parts of the black community are very obese. Consistently, it is attributed to racism and white supremacy, and poverty as the result of white supremacy, and poor healthcare as the result of white supremacy, and poor food choices as the result of white supremacy. You get where we're going with this. If you've been around this channel for any length of time, you will probably already know how I feel towards obesity and the body positivity movement. It doesn't impress me. And for the sake of this video, I do want to say that a lot of factors go into weight gain and weight loss. So when I looked at some of the studies into this topic, generally across the board, they do agree that black women are generally more overweight. Despite that, some of these studies too also agree that it's kind of unclear why. And a few of them pointed to discrimination and racism and the stress of discrimination and racism as a potential reason for why black women are overweight. The stress inherent in living in a race-conscious society that stigmatizes and disadvantages blacks may cause disproportionate psychological deterioration. Reasons for this racial disparity in weight loss in response to intervention are not entirely clear, but discussion of potential explanations generally centers on the idea that unidentified environmental and sociocultural factors may reduce the effectiveness of lifestyle intervention in black women. Although this is also explained by other factors, like the fact that black women, it seems, are less sensitive to the effects of physical activity. Obesity can also be explained by things like the area in which these women live, which is lacking grocery stores or exercise areas, to general eating habits, to weight gain in motherhood, and so on. Because let's be real, nobody is going out of their way to walk to buy broccoli. Except maybe those weird gym people. I also read one really interesting article that says that the husbands of black women really don't like it when they lose weight, so there's that. One study titled "Racism, Segregation, and the Risk of Obesity in Black Women's Health" is often cited to back up the idea that obesity is caused by racism. It says that it clearly establishes a link between discrimination and racism and gaining and maintaining weight, though its basis for concluding that is largely based upon the questions that it asked of its participants based on their personal subjective feelings and experiences. These included, but are not limited to, you receive poorer service than other people in restaurants and stores. People act as if they think you are not intelligent. People act as if they are afraid of you. People act as if they think you are dishonest. You get the idea. So what does it all mean? Well, for one, perceptions of racism are subjective, and subjectivity makes things pretty hard to measure. But the overall argument that white supremacy is somehow to blame for the negative stereotypes towards obesity is nonsensical. That, and also the idea that calling out obesity is anti-black, is also nonsensical. And lastly, let's just say for a hot second that racism really does make you fat. Using this as an excuse for your lifestyle choices only takes away personal responsibility. And it doesn't even begin to explain the myriad of other environmental, social, and physical factors that influence weight gain. Like, not even a little bit. Obesity affects every race and ethnicity, although it affects some groups more than others. According to CDC statistics, Hispanics, 47%, and non-Hispanic blacks, 46.8%, had the highest age-adjusted prevalence of obesity, followed by non-Hispanic whites, 37.9%, and non-Hispanic Asians, 12.7%. We whiteys are the third fattest group. You know what that means? Racism. I think the primary issue here is that racism can be used to explain and excuse anything and everything in society today. It's like a pit, and anything you don't want to be responsible for, you just throw into the pit. And I guess that means that, like, white supremacy then is standing at the bottom just waiting to catch it. Huh. I'm really good at metaphors. The really sad thing is that these activists and writers seem to view the Black community, at least in part, as having no agency or autonomy, meaning that they're just passively going through this white supremacist society with absolutely no means of escape. Cool your jets there, Madam Dramatic. But at the end of the day, I do strongly believe that there must come a point where people take responsibility for themselves and their choices. And to my mind, no matter the color of your skin, if you want agency, autonomy, and respect, a really good place to start to getting those things is owning your own behavior. So what do you all think?